I suppose you could say that I'm mourning the death of who I used to be long ago. I was the sort of person who would leave a party walking away, and then I would look back at the social gathering from a distance. I didn't want to be alone, but being the only one to walk away from this party with nowhere else to go was the sort of person I was. This act showed the range of what people could be like and still someone worth knowing, so I wasn't nothing then as I am now. Being alone out there was almost romantic, almost the perspective of someone who should be loved. Now there are two of us, me and my 10-year-old son Enda. He ended up with a desktop computer with a big flat screen while I work on a small laptop. Since the pandemic, his schooling is remote and he's like a little mad scientist in a swivel chair with lots of windows open on the screen. Enda likes to figure things out for himself. He may be too like me in that regard. I tried to teach him to swim. I tried to teach him how to ride a bike. He resisted every effort, so I gave up on both. One day he began swimming. I watched him dog paddle with a big smile on his face. One day he started riding his bike and he became proficient at it in that same day, riding it back and forth with a friend on a dead-end street until the streetlights came on. He makes up his own jokes. He admits they aren't very good when I respond with a baffled expression, but he thinks this interaction is kind of funny anyway. On the weekend, Enda had an eye-ready math assignment that he wanted to get over with. He already knew the answer to the problem he was looking at, but he had to sit through lengthy step-by-step instructions on how to solve the problem before he could submit the answer. Every question was like that. He knocked things off his desk while waiting: a small globe and a resin cube, a conical pencil sharpener, a lump of dried clay, the green stem of a plastic flower. With the risk of repeating the obvious, I will tell you that Enda's education is being designed by growth-oriented corporations vying for billions of dollars in education contracts. They advertise that they are research-based, but what does that mean coming from a company that spends most of its budget on marketing and lobbying? Their extensive educational products are probably overwhelming for Enda's teachers, the endless new terminology that they must memorize to remain up on the latest version of education. With all the extra work, they appreciate a program that provides ready-built lessons they no longer have to come up with. I'm going to say this even though it may be out of place. Like any writer, I want you to keep reading. When you read this, your reading will include your expectations. You will look for choices that I didn't make. And if you do that enough, you're going to stop reading. I don't know the best way to write, but who does? I found out that the students from creative writing programs at schools like Columbia are matched with literary agents when they graduate. It's hard for me to imagine what that would be like, to be given a literary agent. That's like a fantasy of mine. These agents need look no further for talent than the schools they're paired with. It's one more way to reduce the number of people various institutions must take seriously. But you'd probably rather hear about Enda. I heard him yelling. When I entered his room to see what he was upset about, I found him again staring at a math problem on his screen. Enda told me that he entered the right answer to a math question and it was rejected. He showed me what he was talking about. He entered the answer again and clicked on submit. The message popped up in red letters: "Your answer is incorrect. Try again." He had to find 3 primes that, when multiplied together, result in the number given. He had to keep entering a different order of the primes until he chanced upon the order wanted. I did the math on a sheet of copy paper. His answer was right. He typed in another answer while I watched over his shoulder. It had to be right because it was the same numbers in a different order. He again received the message: "Your answer is incorrect. Try again." He shoved his keyboard away from him. I found a pencil on his cluttered desk. I figured out that there were 6 right answers to each math problem. He said, "This is stupid. I keep entering the right answer." He frowned at his lap as if he were being scolded. Finally, he looked up at the screen. I watched him enter different combinations until he hit on the one that worked. They all should have worked. He knows that numbers can be multiplied in any order and get the same result, but the person who wrote this problem was not required to include more than one correct answer. Enda looked away from me toward the wall. He had a few more questions left to do, and they all required him to find the order of primes the person who made these test questions arbitrarily designated as the only correct answer. I sent an email to Enda's teacher telling her about this problem. She agreed that it wasn't right, but she said that there was nothing she could do about it. When Enda is asked to show his math, he's not allowed to use a method that he came up on his own. He would be taking the work Pearson was contracted for. I clicked on various online articles and discovered that the CEO of Pearson, David Wakeland, was appointed as the Deputy Secretary for Education for the state of New York by Governor Cuomo. I get emails for a class on how to write a query letter. For $300, I can spend a weekend learning how to present this story so that an editor will read it. Compare that to the graduate of a writing program who is matched with an agent. Do I want endless information regarding every little thing I'm trying to do that better-placed people can skip? Does Enda want to exhaust his brain memorizing all the learning products like acronyms and extra rules in the educational toolbox that his teacher has been provided with? He knows when he's being fucked with, but he often seems more hurt than angry, and it has become difficult to get him to do his homework. He'd rather do something else. He draws his own creatures. They have odd combinations of features like a snake with a wolf's head and clawed forelimbs that can fly without wings, or an evil psychic flower that can control your mind. He has boxes filled with felt-tip markers and pencils and pens for drawing. I buy him reams of copy paper to draw on. He likes to watch animated series while playing a game on a split screen. His player character walks through all sorts of crazy environments with a sword in his hand and his pet by his side, and his index finger frantically taps his mouse while his other hand is working the keyboard as he leans forward on his swivel chair. My life as a father is different from my life as a writer. My life as a writer is a nightmare of continuous rejection without a glimmer of hope. And that's one of the things I want to share with you, because I realize that we're trained to always end with a hopeful note. What if at the present there isn't any hope? Or to put it another way, what if the only way to get out of a loop of self-delusion is to acknowledge that there isn't any hope? The range of social existence has contracted until most of us are left outside. I think that what I'm proposing is pretty obvious. So repeat after me. I am nothing. We are nothing. I know the we in the previous sentence is optimistic. No one is likely to join me in this mantra. But that won't stop me, because I want to claim that people worth caring about are out here where there is no hope. Enda has told me that he doesn't want to be a leader. I can't imagine him in the role of the next generation of important young people with big ideas for the future. From what he's told me, it wouldn't fit who he is. I watch the thought leaders on YouTube who see themselves as the adults in the room and the only people in the world who are having intelligent conversations. That's why they love each other. I've never wanted a network of friends who reduce the world to people who I know and who are loyal to one another. I want a much bigger world than that, but I can't find it. I can't even find the empty space where it should be. Eric Weinstein came up with the theory of everything. He thinks there are about 7 brilliant, rebellious minds in the world, himself and 6 friends who he talks to on occasion. They need fuck you money to finance their armchair rebellion. Fuck you money reflects a culture in which money is more likely to control government than government is likely to constrain the power of money, and every freedom is correlated with finance, including being able to be heard saying, fuck you. This money is required for retaining a rebel voice and a wealthy lifestyle, including being plugged in socially and sending your children to the best private schools. Yeah, I know, human intelligence is uneven. I don't want to talk to most people. My thoughts shrink to fit the conversation, and I feel guilty for pretending otherwise. A society designed well for everyone doesn't mean you have to talk to everyone. A society well designed for strangers, which is what most of us are to one another, shouldn't require us to talk to a lot of people. Given a choice, few people will want to be people magnets with lots of friends who all want to spend time with them. And as few friends, and I have fewer than he does. Not many people will want to have so many friends that they rely on diplomacy to get along with all their contacts. Not many people will want to be worshipped in a way that is totally out of balance with who they are, but some people will. And the society we now have is designed especially for them. I wish there were more choices than only this world. I wish there was a world in which a much greater range of people matter. But since I can't have that, I want to at least be clear about my situation. A statement of hopelessness can be optimistic in its stark reality as a place to think clearly, especially if it's shared. So repeat after me one more time. I am nothing. We are nothing.